Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a subject that I honestly think is the absolute elephant in the room for basically everyone living in the 21st century. It isn't a disease you can diagnose with a blood test, and it's not something you can just take a pill for and make it go away.
Not at all.
But it is something that, according to the massive stack of research articles and notes we're looking at today, is quietly destroying our ability to think, work, and just be human.
It really is the modern malady.
Exactly. It's that feeling. You know the one.
Oh, I do.
It's 2:00 p.m. on a Tuesday. You haven't run a marathon. You haven't been digging ditches in the hot sun. You haven't done anything physically strenuous. But your brain feels like absolute mush.
Fried. Just completely burned out.
Completely fried. It's the sensation that your brain has about 50 browser tabs open simultaneously.
Right.
The cooling fan is spinning so loud you can't hear your own thoughts, and you are just frantically clicking between those tabs. Email, Slack, Twitter, news, stocks, text messages, trying to keep the whole system from crashing.
It's a very specific, heavy, foggy type of exhaustion.
It really is.
And the sources we've pulled for this deep dive suggest that this isn't a personal failing. I think that's the most important place to start.
Okay.
It's not that you weren't hustling enough or that you need more coffee or, better time management apps. It's that you are suffering from a very specific type of environmental poisoning.
Poisoning is a strong word. That sounds intense.
It is intense. But if you look at the physiology described in this material, it fits the definition. We are talking about information overload as a toxic state.
A toxic state.
And the antidote, the solution we are exploring today, is a concept called the low information diet.
The low information diet. When I first saw this title in our folder, I have to be honest with you, and with everyone listening, I felt a little defensive.
I get that.
I felt attacked. I am a self-confessed info junkie. I wear that badge with pride. I'm the person who knows the breaking news before the push notification hits your phone. I have the apps, I have the newsletters, I have the RSS feeds. Do people still use those? I do. I have always operated on this core belief that knowledge is power.
Sure.
And to be powerful, I figured I need to know everything that is happening the second it happens.
That is the default setting for high performers and curious people. We conflate being informed with being effective. We think they are the same thing.
Yeah, that's
We think if we ingest more data, we will make better decisions. But the premise of the low information diet, let's call it LID for short, is that in the modern context, they are actually opposites.
Opposites? That's a bold claim. How can knowing less make you more effective?
It comes down to basic economics, supply and demand, specifically regarding your resources.
Right.
What is the most finite resource you have? Okay. It isn't time, though, that is limited, and it isn't money.
It's attention.
Precisely. Attention. The source material argues that information consumes attention. That is the cost of entry. So in an information-rich world, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention.
A poverty of attention. I like that.
If you spend all your cognitive currency on input processing news, tweets, emails, hot takes, videos, you have absolutely zero budget left for output.
That's the input-output equation that really stopped me in my tracks while reading this. The sources use this fantastic analogy comparing information to food. It really helps frame the problem.
It's the central metaphor, and it's incredibly useful for visualizing what we are doing to ourselves. Think about physical nutrition. We all understand that calories are energy.
Right.
But we also understand that not all calories are created equal. If you consume 3,000 calories a day, but it's entirely refined sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and empty carbs, what happens to your body?
You don't get supercharged, you get sluggish, you get brain fog, you get sick, and eventually you crash hard.
Right. You are fed in the sense that you are full, but you are malnourished. The sources argue that most of the information we consume, the social media scrolling, the 24-hour news cycle, the random clickbait articles, the outraged comment sections, is the cognitive equivalent of junk food.
Mental candy.
It is. It's high volume, but low nutritional value.
It fills you up, but it doesn't fuel you.
Exactly. It is often irrelevant to your actual life, it is overwhelmingly negative, and it is confusing. The goal of the low information diet isn't just to unplug for a weekend spa trip to feel nice. It isn't a digital detox for the sake of relaxation.
No.
It is a permanent lifestyle shift. It's about consuming as little information as possible to maximize your mental health and, crucially, your productivity.
Selective ignorance. That is the phrase that jumped out at me from the text.
It's a powerful one.
The mission here is to explore how ignoring things Actively, aggressively choosing not to know can actually make you smarter, faster, and happier. But before we get to the solution, we have to understand the problem.
Right. The diagnosis first.
Why do we do this to ourselves? If it makes us feel so bad, why are we glued to the screen? Why can't we stop?
To understand the why, we have to look at the mechanism of addiction. And make no mistake, the sources label this as a chemical addiction, not just a bad habit.
A chemical addiction.
One of the articles makes a claim that might sound hyperbolic at first. News is far more addictive than caffeine.
More addictive than caffeine. As someone who literally cannot speak before my morning brew, that is a very high bar.
It is. But look at the dopamine loop. Caffeine is a stimulant, yes, but information. Information triggers the reward system in the brain, specifically the seeking circuitry.
Okay.
When you scroll through a feed or see a red notification bubble, your brain anticipates a reward. It thinks, what if this is important? What if this is good news? What if this is a threat I need to avoid?
It's the uncertainty that drives it. It's the what if.
Correct. In psychology, this is called a variable reward schedule.
Oh, okay.
It's the exact same psychological mechanism used in slot machines and gambling.
Oh, wow.
If you pulled the lever on a slot machine and won every single time, you'd actually get bored. If you lost every single time, you'd quit.
Yeah.
But if you win sometimes, if you find an interesting tweet every 10th scroll, or a shocking headline every 5th swipe, that keeps you pulling the lever.
So we are essentially lab rats in a cage, pressing the button, hoping for a pellet of interesting data.
That is exactly what we are. And that creates a cycle. You feel a bit bored or maybe a bit anxious about a project you're working on. So to soothe that anxiety, you check your phone, you get the hit. The hit fades instantly because the information wasn't actually satisfying.
Right.
You feel worse because you've wasted time. So what do you do to feel better? You check again.
It's the slot machine effect. But there is another layer to this that I think affects our listeners specifically. Most of the people listening to this aren't just bored teenagers. They are professionals. They are ambitious.
All right.
And for us, I think there is a trap called the illusion of productivity.
This is where it gets insidious for high performers. We often tell ourselves that we are doing research.
I do this all the time.
We convince ourselves that we need to know everything before we can do anything. We think, I just need to read one more article on this strategy, or I need to check the market one more time, or I need to see what the competition posted on LinkedIn 5 minutes ago.
I am so guilty of this. I call it staying agile. I tell myself I'm gathering intelligence.
The sources have a harsher name for it. They call it productive procrastination.
Oof.
It feels like work. It looks like work. You are sitting at a desk, looking at a screen, but it is actually paralysis. You are clogging the input channel so completely that you never actually get to the action phase.
You're just spinning your wheels.
You are. You are using information gathering as a shield against the scary part of actually doing the work, making the decision, or shipping the product.
That hits hard. We use data consumption to hide from execution. It's safer to read about doing the thing than to actually do the thing.
Absolutely.
But beyond just wasting time, the sources paint a pretty grim picture of the cost of this consumption. It's not just about lost hours. It's about the wear and tear on our mental machinery.
Yeah, the data in our stack points to a strong, undeniable correlation between high news consumption and mental health issues, specifically anxiety and depression.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Think about the nature of news. What sells advertisement?
Fear, anger, crisis.
Oh.
If it bleeds, it leads. That's the oldest rule in journalism.
Exactly. The news is curated to be sensational, negative, and urgent. It is designed to trigger your amygdala. When you plug your brain into a stream of global tragedies, political infighting, and economic doom, you are spiking your cortisol levels.
Right.
You're putting your body into fight or flight mode while you are sitting safely in an ergonomic office chair.
You are stressing your physiology over things you have zero influence over.
That is the key concept. Circle of influence versus circle of concern. This is a classic Stoic idea, and it's central to the low-information diet. We have limited energy. If you pour that energy into worrying about a geopolitical event on the other side of the world, an event you cannot change, cannot vote on, cannot fix, you are sapping the energy you need for the things you can control.
Your job, your family, your health.
Exactly. You are voluntarily giving away your agency.
But here's the pivotal question, and I can hear the listeners screaming this at their speakers right now because I was screaming it while I read the notes.
Okay.
If I stop consuming, won't I be uninformed? We live in a democracy. We live in a connected world. Don't we have a civic duty to know what's going on? Isn't selective ignorance just a fancy word for burying your head in the sand?
This is the most common pushback, and it is a fair one. We don't want to be ostriches. But the counter-argument for the source material is surprisingly practical.
Okay.
It asks, what do you mean by informed? Because being informed in the modern sense usually just means knowing the same trivia as everyone else.
Yeah.
It means you saw the viral video. It means you know the headline. It doesn't mean you have deep knowledge or understanding.
So there is a difference between knowing the news and having knowledge.
A massive fundamental difference. The low information diet argues that the news is actually an impediment to understanding the world.
An impediment? Wow.
It gives you a fragmented, hysterical view of reality. By cutting out the noise, the breaking news chyrons, the hot takes on Twitter, you free up bandwidth to actually understand the world deeply.
So you have space in your brain again.
You have space, you have the time to read a book on history, or a specialized journal, or a long-form analysis that actually explains why things are happening, rather than just what just exploded.
So you're trading breadth knowing a little bit about every scandal for depth.
Correct. But to get there, you have to break the addiction first. You can't just slide into this.
Right.
And this brings us to section 2, the detox. And I have to warn everyone, the sources here are not messing around. They aren't suggesting you just cut back a little.
Your baby steps.
No.
Yeah.
They are talking about a hard reset.
Cold turkey.
Cold turkey. If you are addicted to dopamine, moderation doesn't work. You can't tell an alcoholic to just have 1 beer a day. You need to clear the system. The sources suggest a 5-day, or ideally a 7-day, media fast.
Let's walk through the rules of this fast, because when I read them, I started sweating. It sounds painful.
The basic protocol is straightforward but strict. No newspapers, no TV,
Okay.
no internet surfing, no social media.
No internet surfing, like at all. What if I need to look up a recipe? What if I need to check the weather?
The strict rule is only use the internet if it is necessary to complete a specific work task for that day. No just checking.
Wow.
No looping through your favorite sites. No, I'll just check the weather and then accidentally spend 40 minutes on YouTube. If you need the weather, ask Alexa or look out the window.
Okay, so that's the standard version. But then I saw the advanced version, the 7-day challenge, and there was one rule there that stopped me in my tracks.
I think I know which one.
It lists no web surfing, no email except for absolute necessities, no news, no TV, and then it says no nonfiction books.
Yes, that's the one that trips everyone up.
I thought books were the good food. We just said we want depth. I thought books were the kale and spinach of the information diet. Why on earth would we ban books during the detox?
This is where the philosophy gets really interesting. The logic here is about stopping the intake entirely.
But why?
Even books can be a form of procrastination.
Yeah.
Be honest. How many business books or self-help books are sitting on your shelf or your Kindle right now?
I plead the fifth. I have a stack on my nightstand that is judging me right now.
Exactly. We read How to Be Productive to avoid being productive. We read How to Start a Business to avoid starting the business. It feels noble, but it's still consumption.
Still just input.
It's still input. The no books rule, just for this 1 week, is about forcing you to sit with the silence. It forces you to stop consuming other people's thoughts and start hearing your own.
That sounds terrifying, just me and my brain.
It is terrifying. That's why we avoid it. We fill every silence with a podcast or a song or a page of text. But the source argues that by taking in no information, the sources you genuinely miss, the specific data points you actually need to do your job or live your life, will make themselves known. You will feel the specific gap.
So it's like an elimination diet for food. You strip everything away. Gluten, dairy, sugar, to see what actually causes a reaction.
Precisely. If you stop reading the news for a week and you realize you didn't miss a single thing that impacted your life, you realize you don't need it.
Okay.
But if you stop checking your work email and you miss a crucial client deadline, you realize, okay, that is a necessary channel. You learn to distinguish between essential and comfort.
And what does the material say happens after the week is up?
The aftermath is fascinating. The material suggests that after this week-long fast, most people never go back to their old habits. They break the loop.
Right.
They typically return to consuming only about 10 to 20% of their original volume. They realize they were drowning in noise, and they just prefer the quiet.
That is the fear, though. If I go offline for a week, the world will fall apart. My little corner of it, at least.
And did the world fall apart? No. The sun came up, the business kept running. You realize that your constant vigilance wasn't actually holding the world together. It was just exhausting you.
Okay, let's say we survived the detox. We've done the cold turkey, we've stared at the wall, we've realized we are addicted to the scroll. Now we need to rebuild our life.
Right.
We need a maintenance phase. We can't stay offline forever. We do have jobs, we do have family.
No, eventually you have to let information back in. But this time, you don't leave the front door wide open. You need a filtration system. You need a bouncer at the door of your mind.
I love that image. A bouncer for your brain. Standing behind the velvet rope, arms crossed, checking IDs, wearing sunglasses.
That's the one.
So what's the dress code? How do we decide who gets in?
The primary filter the sources suggest is the immediate and important test. Before you click, before you read, before you watch, you ask, will I definitely use this information for something immediate and important?
I want to stress those words. Definitely immediate and important. That is a strict filter. Usually my filter is, this looks mildly amusing, or this might be useful 5 years from now.
That's the just-in-case mindset. We hoard information for a hypothetical future. I'll save this article on gardening in case I ever buy a house with a yard.
Guilty.
I'll read this review of a camera I can't afford. The low-information diet advocates for just-in-time information. If you aren't gardening today, that information is just clutter. Junk it. Trust that you can find it later if you ever actually need it.
The sources actually provide a checklist to run through to help us train this bouncer. I want to try this out.
Let's do it.
I'm going to throw a few scenarios at you. Real-life stuff that happens to me. And you tell me if it passes the test based on the source criteria.
Okay, be the bouncer.
Okay. Scenario 1. It's Tuesday morning. I'm scrolling. Well, I shouldn't be scrolling, but I see an article titled 10 Reasons the Economy Might Collapse Next Year. It's from a reputable source. It looks serious. Do I read it?
Let's run the checklist. Does this help you complete your current task right now?
No. My current task is writing a quarterly report.
Is it within your circle of influence? Can you change the global economy by reading this article?
Definitely not. I wish, but no.
Will you be happier or healthier after consuming it?
No. I'll be anxious. I'll probably call my financial advisor in a panic and ruin his day too.
Then it fails. It's noise, it's speculation. Block it. Ignore it. It provides no utility, only anxiety.
Okay, that's tough, but fair. Scenario 2. I am working on a marketing presentation for a new product launch. I see a link to a new case study on trends in digital advertising 2024.
Does this help you complete your current task?
Yes, actually. I can use the data in the presentation to back up my points. It solves a specific problem I have right now.
Is it immediate?
Yes, the presentation is due Friday.
Then it passes. This is just-in-time information. You consume it, you extract the specific data you need, you apply it, and then, this is the important part, you move on. You don't keep clicking the related article sidebar. You treat it like a reference book, not a magazine.
Okay, here is a tricky one. Scenario 3. My main competitor just launched a new feature. I see a tweet about it. I feel like I need to go to their site, read their press release, read the user comments, and see what people are saying. Does that pass?
This is the gray area. Is it important? Yes. But is it immediate? Are you going to change your product strategy today based on that tweet?
Probably not today,
No.
but I feel the urge to know.
Then the advice would be, batch it. Don't drop everything to react. Schedule a time, maybe during your weekly review, to do a deep dive on the competitor.
Okay.
If you react in the moment, you're letting the competitor dictate your schedule.
Yeah.
You're letting their actions hijack your attention.
Right.
So capture the link, put it in a folder, and read it when you decide to read it.
That is a crucial distinction. It's about who is in control. Am you or the feed?
Exactly. That's why the sources distinguish so heavily between general information and specialized information.
Okay.
General information, news, gossip, viral trends, memes should be almost entirely eliminated. The suggestion in the text is radical. Read headlines once a week.
Read headlines once a week. That sounds insane to a news junkie. I feel like I'd be living under a rock. I'd miss everything.
But is it insane? The argument is that if something is truly important, like a war started, or there is a pandemic, or evacuate your city, you will hear about it.
Yeah.
The news will find you. You don't need an app for that. Your neighbor will tell you. The barista will tell you. Your mom will call you.
That's actually true. I've never learned about a genuine personal emergency from a news ticker. It's always a text or a call.
Exactly. You are outsourcing the filter to the world. On the other hand, specialized information industry journals, technical books, deep dive podcasts like this one should be consciously consumed. But even then, there is a limit. You can't just read about your industry all day and never work in it.
Right, the sources have this mantra that I really liked. It's modeled after Michael Pollan's famous rules for food.
Yep.
Pollan said, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. It's simple, memorable.
And the information equivalent in our source material is seek, not too much, mostly facts.
Mostly facts. That cuts out so much of the opinion pieces, the punditry, the hot takes.
Opinions are cheap calories. They are sugar. They taste good. They get you riled up, but they have no nutritional density. Facts are nutrition. If you stick to facts that are relevant to your goals, you cut out 90% of the noise instantly. You don't need to read 5 op-eds about what the president's speech meant. You could just read the transcript of the speech. That's facts.
Okay, let's get tactical. This is section 4. We have the philosophy, we have the filter. But we are fighting against algorithms designed by some of the smartest engineers in Silicon Valley specifically to bypass our self-control.
For sure.
Willpower is not enough. The sources suggest we need barriers. We need to build walls.
Friction is your friend here. You want to make it annoying to access low-value information.
Okay.
The path of least resistance should be doing your work, not checking your phone. The first tip is physical distance. Keep the phone in another room while you are working.
Simple but painful. I get phantom vibrations just thinking about it.
If you have to stand up, walk down the hall, and go to the kitchen to check Instagram, you will do it significantly less often than if it is sitting face up next to your laptop.
You're adding friction.
You are adding a cost to the action.
The sources also mention tech tools, using website blockers.
Yes. Tools like Freedom or Cold Turkey, or simply deleting the apps. This is a big one.
Oh, yeah.
If you must use social media for work, the sources suggest deleting the app and only accessing it through the browser on your phone.
I've done that. It is a miserable experience. The mobile web versions are clunky. You have to log in every time. Nothing loads right.
That's the point. You want it to be a bad experience. You want to log in, get the specific info you need, and get out because the interface is frustrating. You are breaking the seamless, frictionless dopamine loop that the app provides. You are making the slot machine sticky and hard to pull.
Another tactical tip that surprised me was about scheduling consumption. Batching. We talk about batching email, but batching everything.
We batch our laundry. We don't wash one sock every time we take it off. That would be inefficient. Yet we check headlines every 15 minutes.
Good point.
The sources suggest setting strict time limits, maybe 30 minutes in the evening. You get your news, you check your fun sites, and when the timer goes off, you are done.
It's like intermittent fasting for the brain.
Exactly. And one of the sources even suggests a 1-day-a-week rule for learning.
Yeah, that one.
Like you only study or learn new things on Saturdays. That seems restrictive. What if I want to learn on Tuesday?
It feels counterintuitive.
It relates back to the input versus output balance.
Yeah.
If you are learning every day, you might feel productive, but you aren't doing the work.
Okay.
By saving your study time for one day, you ensure the other 6 days are focused on execution. It stops you from using learning as an excuse to procrastinate.
Now, we have to address the social element. This is social engineering, because if I stop watching the news, I'm going to be the guy at the dinner party who has no idea what everyone's talking about. When someone says, did you see what the politician tweeted? Or did you hear about that scandal? It can be incredibly awkward to stare blankly.
It can be. It creates social friction. But the sources give you a script. First, you can simply say, I'm on a low information diet right now.
Sounds kind of trendy, actually, like saying I'm doing keto or I'm doing dry January.
Exactly. It frames it as a deliberate choice for your health, which people usually respect. But there was a deeper power here.
Okay.
It is the power of saying, I don't know, and crucially, internalizing the feeling of, I don't care.
I don't care is a dangerous phrase to use in polite society. You don't want to sound callous. You don't want to sound like you don't care about the world.
You don't have to say it aggressively, but internally, you have to accept it. You have to realize that your caring by reading an article wasn't actually helping anyone anyway. When everyone is debating a sensationalist topic, you can politely exit or redirect. I haven't been following that, but I have been working on this new project that I'm really excited about.
You essentially opt out of the outrage cycle.
And you will find something surprising. Most people are actually relieved. Most people are exhausted by the news, too. They are just parroting what they heard because they think that's what conversation is. If you give them permission to talk about something else, something real, something personal, something positive, they often happily take it.
I like that. You become an oasis of calm conversation in a desert of hot takes.
And you protect your own mental state. You
Yeah.
aren't letting other people's agenda hijack your attention.
Okay, so we've cleared the decks. We aren't scrolling. We aren't reading the news. We've hidden our phone in the fridge, hopefully not literally.
Hopefully not.
We suddenly have all this free time. And this brings us to section 5, the deep work connection. Because if we don't fill this void, we are just going to relapse.
That is the danger zone, the void. If you remove the distraction but don't replace it with something meaningful, you will just sit there feeling anxious and bored. The low-information diet isn't an end in itself. It is a means to an end.
Hmm.
The goal is to make space for deep work.
By deep work, we mean focused, distraction-free concentration on a cognitively demanding task, the hard stuff.
Exactly. Writing, coding, strategizing, building, the stuff that actually moves the needle in your life.
Right.
The source material makes a profound point here. Increased output necessitates decreased input. You cannot output high-quality work if your mind is cluttered with noise. You need RAM available. You can't run complex software if you have 1,000 background processes slowing down the CPU.
But the transition is hard. When you first stop the input, you hit boredom. And we hate boredom. We treat boredom like a sickness.
We are terrified of boredom, but the sources argue we need to embrace it. Boredom is the precursor to creativity. When your brain isn't being spoon-fed stimuli, it starts to generate its own ideas. It starts to connect dots that were previously drowned out by the noise.
That explains why I get my best ideas in the shower. It's the only place I can't bring my phone.
Exactly. Your brain is finally in default mode, wandering and synthesizing. If you fill every spare second with a podcast or a tweet, you rob yourself of those insights.
So the tabs in your brain finally close, and you can actually process the data you already have.
Yes, you reconnect with your own thoughts. One of the sources has this great line, productivity is a matter of removing all distractions. If you define your single most critical goal clearly, almost all other information becomes irrelevant.
That is a liberating thought. If I know exactly what I need to do, say, launch this product or write this book, then 99.9% of the internet is suddenly irrelevant to me.
Exactly.
I don't need to filter it. I can just ignore it because it's not that.
Focus acts as a natural filter. If you don't have a goal, everything looks potentially important. If you do have a goal, almost nothing is.
If you don't have a goal, everything looks important. That is going on a sticky note on my monitor. That sums it up perfectly.
It's the difference between a flashlight and a laser. A flashlight illuminates everything a little bit. It's diffuse. A laser focuses all energy on one point and cuts through steel. The low-information diet turns you from a flashlight into a laser.
I love that. Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground here. We've diagnosed the addiction, that dopamine loop that keeps us scrolling. We've planned the detox, the cold turkey week, including the scary notebooks rule. We've built the maintenance checklist, the immediate and important filter.
Right.
Let's bring it all home. What are the key takeaways for the listener who might be listening to this while trying to multitask and needs the bullet points?
If you take nothing else away, remember this. Information is a tool, not a lifestyle. Most of us are using it as a lifestyle.
Right, a terrible lifestyle.
First, stop consuming the news. It is low-grade, high-stress junk food. Trust that you will hear about the big stuff. You don't need to chase it.
Okay.
Second, use the immediate and important checklist. Be ruthless, be the bouncer. If it doesn't help you now, ditch it. Third, prioritize output over input. Create more than you consume.
And don't be afraid of the silence. That's where the good stuff happens.
The silence is where you happen.
I want to leave the listener with a final thought from the source material. It's a quote from Robert J. Sawyer that really resonated with me. Learning to ignore things is one of the great paths to inner peace.
It is a beautiful sentiment and a practical one.
And it leads to a challenge for everyone listening. Ask yourself this. If you stopped following the world's problems today, if you completely tapped out of the daily drama for just 1 week, would the world change?
No.
No. The world keeps spinning, but would your world change?
Absolutely.
Your anxiety would drop, your focus would skyrocket, your presence with the people around you would deepen. So the question isn't can you do it, is are you brave enough to simply step away?
It takes courage to be out of the loop, but the view from the outside is much clearer.
That's a wrap for this deep dive. Go forth, ignore some stuff, reclaim your attention, and we will see you next time.